Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
Erik, how are you doing? And what is he doing now to make you laugh?
It's just stupid. It's just he's shouting out different kinds of meat.
Meats now. It was vegetables before, now it's meats. He must be hungry.
Mm,
Go eat, Erik.
Steak, T-bones, hamburgers, cheeseburger, chicken nuggets, chicken breast,
Oh my gosh.
turkey, fish, sea bass.
What are you doing that
He's
for,
just,
Erik?
he knows it drives me crazy just to constantly hear stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he just picks a topic and he runs
Oh my
with it
gosh.
or just repeats the same word.
Is that fun for you,
It
Erik?
is pretty funny. It's very G-rated, so to me it's hysterical.
Oh, good.
Yes,
It
he's
could be
getting there.
worse.
Yes, he could be doing the series of cuss words for
I
me.
know. Well, that's true. Well, he's
I could
has
learn them.
a series of those from time to time. All right, so Erik,
Hi, Mom.
here's your little choice.
Yes.
Today is the day of choices for you and Jamie. How to
Woo!
let go of a painful past, vulnerability, or being comfortable with uncertainty. I almost said being uncomfortable with certainty, but I guess that would be the same thing.
Yeah, I guess that would be, huh?
Hmm.
He said he would like to choose selection B.
How to let go
And
of a painful past?
oh, he thought B was vulnerability.
Okay, well, yeah, I think it was. Okay.
He
You
goes, oh,
always
yeah.
talk about how vulnerability is so important, yet in our society, we see it as a sign of being weak. To sit there and open your heart to somebody and say, you know what, I really love you. That makes some people just cringe with fears like anxiety. Oh my God, no, I'm just going to expose my soft underbelly to be ripped to shreds by a sharp set of canines. So let's talk about it.
You're saying underbelly. He's trying to, pinch his belly and jiggle it like, ooh.
There's not much
He
there.
doesn't have anything to pinch.
No.
Nice try, though. He said, oh, I love vulnerability. The act of vulnerability is the most powerful, the strongest action of expression that you could have. Way better than yelling, way better than pushing. All that aggravation and violence, not so powerful, just bullyish. It actually shows that you're weak and you're compensating. But when you're sitting down and telling the truth that you feel somebody else might not understand or might take it and want to bruise you with it later, and there you are sharing with them, that's some powerful shit. And when it's out, people then, at least from your standpoint, people can't take it and place it over your head. Because then you get to announce, actually, I shared that with you first. I chose to trust you. And this is what you're doing with the information or doing with it. Then I won't share my next vulnerability or my next truth or depth with you. We talked about fear in the few clips ago. And sometimes people are fearful of being vulnerable for fear that it's going to be used against them, right? That it's going to harm them in the long run.
Yeah.
Not true. Random, Erik. Why? Oh, this is okay. Um, so the example is kind of offhanded. Um, let's say you're someone, a man, who um, thinks about harming children,
Okay. No wonder you cringed. Okay.
like sexually.
Okay.
Okay. I was like, it got to be a better example. And he goes, no, I want it to be remembered, like
Mm.
kind of a shock factor thing. Um, and of course, a huge part of your head is like, don't ever fucking say that to anybody because you're broken, you're wrong, you're fucked up. You can go to jail, you get arrested. He said, but finding a point of vulnerability where you can share it with someone who's trusted, whether it's a friend, a spouse, a therapist, to really identify that those are thoughts that belong to you. It's almost like when you keep thoughts on the inside, they fester and they grow in ways that you might not want them to grow. Kind of like when you keep food in a fucking basement and it grows mildew. You really don't want it to fucking grow mildew. You want it to stay fresh, but you were just storing it. It doesn't work that way. So it can grow in ways where you might actually fucking act it out with a kid. And it really wasn't part of your constitution, but you were just following through with this fucked up, thing that you kept inside. But it might be that you were able to talk about it with someone, and then they went back and found out that it actually happened to you, and that's why you had the thoughts. But you're an adult and you forgot that, and your psyche was flipping that shit on you. And you had the viewpoint of the person who was doing it rather than you, because that was your safety mechanism, And then all of a sudden, it's okay, because you get it. But to reach that point, you needed vulnerability. You needed to share everything that you were experiencing to get really to the ultimate power of what you were experiencing, what you were thinking, what was going on. And he said, I want people to understand vulnerability is not a choice. It just doesn't happen for when you have positive things in your life. It doesn't just happen by selection. Like, I guess this is a good vulnerability, so I'm going to share that I love you.
How are you going to find somebody to talk to about that you would trust? Seriously. I mean, even maybe your best friend would sit there and say, dude, you're weird. I don't want to talk to you or see you anymore.
Yeah, that would be a best friend who has a lot of fucking judgment.
Well, most people do. That's the problem. That makes it very difficult to be vulnerable in a world that just thrives on judgment.
But let's say you're in general like a healthy person, right? In general, you got some healthy thoughts, and you're healthy.
Okay.
And define that however you want. I'm just talking about not having a ton of crazy, just a little crazy. And you go to share vulnerability with someone. That judgment that comes from the other person can completely be flushed out and managed through good conversation. And good conversation requires vulnerability. And you would actually be able to say, really fucking nervous about telling you. I know I would feel better if somebody else knew this about me. I would like to know if I shared something with you, what would you do with it? Like, do you know how to keep a secret? I want you to identify that this is really important to me, that it stays between us, or just important, that you understand what I'm saying. I don't care who you tell. I just want you to know, whatever your boundaries are. And be able to have good, clear communication between the two of you when you're being vulnerable with them. Because that shit matters. How you can tell them, will you listen? Will you hold it a secret or not, depending on what you need? Will you tell me that I'm being heard, and will you hang in there until you can understand it the way that I see it? So most people jump to conclusions.
That's true. And if you don't have anybody in your life that you could trust with that,
go to the internet.
Yeah. Or
a therapist.
Lucas is passing me Post-it notes.
It's love notes.
God. No, they're not love notes. It's saying making pappardelle tonight. Need groceries. All right. You could have waited. Okay.
Food is important.
Yeah, I guess so. So, well, I guess you can go to a therapist.
Yes, life coach, counselor, therapist, whomever, and knowing that when you pick somebody like that, they really need to resonate with you. If you come in and you're like, I don't know about them, they're a little bossy, they're labeling me, all this shit, and they're trying, fucking walk out. You're hiring them, dude. You don't have to serve them. You're hiring them. Fucking walk out, pick a few more names, and show up at their office and sit down and go, how could you help me? And then when it makes a good match, boom, you're in.
What if they can't afford therapy?
Oh, Mom, there's a lot of free therapy that's out there. Social services.
Churches?
You can get churches. Yeah. Oh, there's tons of community support that provides this. You just can go to your library, get online, and start researching it, and start asking. Hey, where do you go? Do they offer, this or that? Group therapies are also good as well.
Okay, what about another vulnerability? Not sharing a dark secret, but sharing that you really love someone and they don't know it, for example. Even if it's your Aunt Mary, and you always loved Aunt Mary, not romantically, but just had such affection, and you kind of want her to know that. But you're afraid, People are afraid to express affection.
Right, because affection is seen as weakness.
Why is that?
Weakness.
Why? I don't get it.
Because in the past, people have used manipulation over those sweet emotions to get what they want and to bruise people and bully them.
Okay.
And that's old school thinking, everyone. Old school thinking. I love that. That's old school thinking, because nowadays, the value of showing love or affection it's placed high up on the scale there. It's no longer seen as a weak trait for men and for women to have.
Okay.
So if you had trouble really expressing to someone that you have affection or deep love for them, he says you wanted an example. He said, like, how kind of an example?
Well, any kind. Well, you think of something. It could be a romantic affection or just a platonic one.
How about like when you're coming out of the closet for the first time and you're telling a same-sex partner that you love them?
Okay.
Because you don't get to see many examples of that, like on entertainment or TV. A lot of times how we're handling our relationships and our placements in life is because we've seen it with our parents or we've seen it on TV, and we kind of, base it off of that. So there's a lot of, hesitation in coming out and really sharing, with the same-sex person, because acceptance is fucking huge for this. It's huge.
No.
And it's kind of same with the examples we were just giving before, is identifying before you speak out. Like, make sure it's in the right place and not in line at the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
Or not while you're driving.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Really set the atmosphere for it. I'm not saying, like, pull out the fucking candles and shit like that, but have it to where you can both be eye to eye. If you know you're a nervous sharer, why don't you go for a walk, so you can get some of that nervous energy out of you.
And you don't have to face the person.
Yeah, you don't have to face them. That's right, Mom. You can be like shoulder to shoulder, like equals as you're talking about it.
But being truly vulnerable means facing and making eye contact. So this is like beginner's vulnerability if you're not making the...
Why? Why is eye contact vulnerable?
Well, it is to a lot of people. It's almost like a threat. I think it's instinctual, an instinctual threat. Your eyes are the windows to the soul. They're going to see your soul and suck it out through your eyeballs. I don't know.
He goes, I like that. He goes, I was just looking at emotional vulnerability because we're definitely wired to be emotional beings. He said, yeah, I like it. You can call it kind of like the beginner step of vulnerability. If you know you're a nervous sharer, go shoulder to shoulder and take a walk. But identify those factors that are creating hesitation before you fucking share. So if it's all about acceptance, and you're telling the person that you love, you're like, listen, I want to say something to you, but I'm so nervous. I'm worried that you won't see me in the same way anymore. I'm concerned that you won't accept me for who I really am because maybe I don't, know how to define myself, or that I'm not going to say this right, or that I might fuck up. Just say all those things about the hesitation before you share. And then once you go to share, the person knows where you're coming from. Your vulnerability then has roots. Where's it coming from? And all of a sudden it's not like dropped from the fucking sky.
Yeah.
That's when usually people are like, what? No way, ha ha.
Oh no. That'd be terrible. Well, what about a sibling? This is my last one, then we'll close up. What about siblings?
No.
Oh, you're not finished with that one?
No, because I think we also need to talk about the flip side when you were saying the comfortability.
Okay.
Word, where people run and they tease. And just knowing that whatever you share, if it's truth and honest about you, it is going to serve and protect who you are, your authentic self. I don't fucking care if this person then grapevines it to somebody else and twists the story and goes on and on and on, because your acceptance in life and who you are is not based on how other people view you.
True.
Because that's a big thing about vulnerability. You were sharing with that individual or that group at that time because you needed to be authentic to who you were. What ripples out from there is not under your control, and it's not your responsibility. But if it comes back to you, then you can choose to handle it in the best way that you wish. But that it doesn't change who you are without other people identify you. Okay, what was your sibling question?
No, I mean, what about a sibling telling another sibling that they love them? That's always hard. Why is it so hard? Sibling rivalry, I guess?
Yes, and it could be the way that the family was raised, where they're not, supposed to talk about their feelings. They're supposed to tough it out because that's the good old American way.
Yeah, that's right.
Tough it out.
That's right.
And so when it boils down, and usually it happens when a whole bunch of shit has already gone down, and we're like, fuck, you're about to die? Guess what, dude? I love you. We've gone through everything. But competition, rivalry, comparison, who was better, who was closer, who got what. And that's all what we just talked about. It's because the person was raised in an environment to compare others to themselves to find out who they are.
That is so true.
If we got rid of all of that, it's like pretending to pull things off of them. If we got rid of all of that, what people say about us or put on us, then we'd have to really sit down and figure out who we are without all of it. And then we'd get to the real authentic self. And then when you're being vulnerable with someone, sharing something that you think might get bruised or injured by someone, that's what vulnerability is. You just become more powerful and more in your shoes, more strong, more real.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice thing.
It is a nice thing. I really like it.
Well, I think that's a good place to close, unless you have anything else to add.
Ding-a-ling.
Ding-a-ling. All right.
Oh, no, it's the Christmas tune with the bells.
Oh.
But he's saying ding-a-ling.
I definitely probably won't talk to you until after Christmas, Jamie. So have a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you.
And a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. 2016 is going to be amazing for Erik.
It's going to be amazing for all of us, right?
Yes.
All right, everybody stay tuned for the messages at the end of this YouTube, and come back and see us next time.
Yay. He says bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, Erik. I love you.
I love you, Mom.